now happens to be the 4th of Elul, marks the Hilula of a famous rabbi. His name was Rabbi Avraham Hacham. Zecher Tzaddik Livracha. He was born in English in 1882. He passed away in 1964. We're talking about 61 years ago here from the time of recording. He was a great rabbi. He was a darshan. He was a spiritual leader in the various different places. That he was in Kermanshah, for example, in Kurdistan. I think maybe the Iranian part of there, respectively. Later on, he'll be the rabbi of the Moshav called the Beit Hanan, which is based obviously in Israel, I think more southern part of Israel, and of the various different kihilot, let's just say, that would come from various different places, and really take it on. I think he'd be a rabbi in Rishon LeZion also, respectively. He would set up, I believe, the Yeshivat Magen Abraham and the Beit Knesset Tefaert Avraham in Jerusalem. Those places very, very important. Let's explore a few of the highlights of the great rabbi's life. Now, it's actually interesting. He was born in the year 1882 in the city called Sandaji. I believe that's I think around Kurdistan territory, if I'm not mistaken, quite close to Iran, if I'm not mistaken. I believe his father's name was Rav Azaria, and I think he was a Dayan and a great wise man of his place in of itself. He was known as a Mullah Aziz, and I think his mother's name was Leah, Rabbinit Leah, if I'm not mistaken. And he would work, I think, as well as learning a lot of Torah, he would work in trade, and after his father sadly passed away, I believe his brother Rabbi Avraham would actually be appointed as a rabbi of the vicinity, the rabbi of the city. But I think after several years, so he would then later on, I think, take on this position respectively. So it would be passed on at various different stages of time. This would really, I think his brother's name actually was Rav Nehemiah, if I'm not mistaken. So he would take it on, and also at the same time while he was taking charge of the areas of the spiritual matters, he would still be working in a trade, in commerce for a living. Now, he would enter the rabbinate of Kermanshah, respectively. Now, I believe that was around the time period of 1912. He would move to Kermanshah, which is more the southern part of this area of Sandaji, and he would start to work as a rabbi of the city, the congregation, and I think there was about 5,000-6,000 Jews approximately over there, and many people will be obviously living in the city. He would work as a rabbi, he would work as a chazan, as a darshan, as a shochet, also performing ritual slaughter, also as a mohel, performing circumcision, brit milot. He'll be the head of Jewish court there, and will be in charge, I believe, of the various different, the chinuch, the education of Torah inside the place. I think there was a school system connected to Alliance Yisraelit Universal, called Yisrael Chaverim, inside that city, so he would take on responsibilities over there. I think he had good relations with people of other different religions, other different leaders of different, let's just say, religions. He would interfaith work he was doing. I think he was close to the city's governor, if I'm not mistaken, and he would make sure that the religious, let's say, there wouldn't be religious clashes when it came to exams for schools, because he wanted to make sure that the Jewish community can respect and keep the holy days respectively. So he was also, I think, really grappling with different situation that was happening in the city itself, various different, let's just say, happenings that was happening there, making sure that the religious life for the Jewish community can be on a high level. And I think at that point in time, it wasn't so easy. I mean, life from financial for everyone inside this specific area. He would, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he also adopted his nephews. They were very young at that point in time when he was working as a rabbi there in this specific place. It's reported he had 14 children, if I'm not mistaken. At least 7 of them would eventually emigrate with him to Eretz Yisrael. I'm not too sure what happened to the rest, if anyone knows. Okay, so that's very important to know. Remember, at that point in time, Zionism was, let's say, at that point in time, really thriving and was great. So many people were actually pre-1948 would want to come to Eretz Yisrael at that stage in time, and very much they did. He was a judge, and he would delve into various different, let's say, investigations on different cases. He was corresponding with rabbis from distant communities. He was known for his strict observance of Shabbat, naturally. And it's reported he would take toughness over there. And one time, I think, for example, there was a store open on Shabbat. and he would order confiscation at that point in time until the Jewish owner of the store would reverse his decision, let's say, within regards to Shabbat observance. I think in that point in time there was a lot of anti-Semitism and various other problems and issues also inside that specific place, especially in the 1930s. I think many of them would move to would move away from Kermanshah over there to, if I'm not mistaken, to Bukhara. I'm not too sure. Maybe there was a lot of issues at that stage in time. I think 2,500 Jewish people were actually moved from over there, and there was problems, I think, in the Jewish community over there. There was problems against the Jewish community, or possibly against the local community over there. So he immobilized the Jewish community, local one, and brought various refugees and helped them with livelihood, culture, education, so they would survive and not be deported from the next place they came in. He would send requests to various authorities in order to, let's say, receive permits to emigrate to the land of Israel at that point in time. So he really, really did try and push and help the Jewish community actually end up in Eretz Israel. He was a strong Zionist. That's nothing that we can point out about him. And he really believed that people should move to Eretz Israel. And obviously, this was also due to the rise of anti-Semitism, especially in these places. And there was restrictions on Jews in Kermanshah. I think especially at the time there was a change of governor, and Rabbi Avraham Hacham would eventually emigrate to Palestine. His children, I think originally the children were not, it wasn't so easy for them to leave Persia. There was a ban on boys moving, if I'm not mistaken. And then I think they would, let's say, bring a system where they could actually flee, I think, to Iraq. And then eventually, I think, obtain maybe a visa or something from Damascus and immigration, and eventually end up in Eretz Israel at that point. But this was a whole process in of itself. His family part of the time would have to remain in Damascus, waiting for visas, and I think it would take as many as 5 months over there, and the family would eventually arrive by train. And so thankfully, they would. I think it could be that they stopped off in Haifa, but eventually they would join Rabbi Avraham Hacham in Jerusalem over there. He would serve, he would work in the Bukharian neighborhood in Jerusalem, a place we've spoken about on various occasions before. I think this was when they arrived, I think, Erev Pesach in the year 1936, so they would dwell in the Bukharian neighborhood in Jerusalem. He would work as a shochet over there. He would perform kosher slaughter of chickens. He was a chazan also, a cantor, a shliach tzibur. He was a chazan. He was a mohel, performing brit milah, circumcision. He was also working kiddushin within regards to marriages, helping marrying people. And he was working the butchers over there, and really doing a lot of various different importances, let's just say respectively, in the Torah sphere. And I think he was connected to Rabbi Ben Zion Meir Chai Uziel. At that point in time, he would, I think he was maybe working, he was traveling to various different countries, also helping families in his area. His connection to Rabbi Ben Zion Meir Chai Uziel, remember, he was a Sephardi chief rabbi between 1948 to 1953. That was very, very important connection they would have. And it could be, if I'm not mistaken, he might have been offered a job in Bulgaria, if I'm not mistaken. But eventually he would move, I think, from the 1943 year, I think it was approximately, he would move to a moshav to work as a rabbi there, Beit Hanan Moshav. And obviously that's a place, I think, quite close to Nes Ziona, if I'm not mistaken, in Israel, a place I've been to before, I think once or twice. And he would work over there in the community, and very much important positions. I think he'd be connected to Rishon LeZion. He would serve as a rabbi over there, and I think he would come back and forth to Jerusalem. Also, in Jerusalem would see various different important jobs in of itself, and that we could definitely speak more about. Remember, he was taking on various roles all over the different place. I think his son was part of the Hatzal Harigun Hatzava'i Halomi Be'eretz Yisrael. He was part of the army, and much can be said within regards to that, which I recommend people to learn. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think his son was a member of the neighborhood of Jerusalem, I think, where he would actually help found part, I don't know how much of the Katamon neighborhood, respectively, but it would be an important role over there. And he'd have obviously strong ties with the Tefaret Yerushalayim society, the Magen Avraham Yeshiva also, respectively. Now, we've spoken about these on various occasions before in this series. Now, it's reported over, I'll say it in Hebrew over here, about concerning his passing away. Kama yemim lifnei ptirato, amar le'ishto shu eino ro'eh et moto b'kos ha'kiddush, v'hu choshesh yamav tzaborim. And I think it was the 12th of August in the year 1964. That happened to be the 4th of Elul. He came up, and I think after doing the Tilat Yadayim, he sadly, I think after a few movements, he passed away. He was buried in Har Menuchot Cemetery. This is Mount of Resting Cemetery, respectively. He had a great book, I think, called the Sefer Yazrieli. Various different Trushim, Perushim on the Parashiot of the Torah, respectively. It was written, I think, a long book, and I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was printed through Avraham Hacham only 2 months after he passed away, if I'm not mistaken. The great book was. So he was about 82 years of age at the time he passed away. I think among his children was Leah Chacham, Yitzchak Chacham, Eliezer, Avrami, Rivka, Sasonpor, Rachel Chacham, Simcha Avir, Miriam Fox. I'm not too sure the other names. So he would have various different important roles all throughout. He was very, very well traveled. He was nicknamed the Mole Avram Ben Azariah Chacham. Also, so that's interesting. He lived about 82 years of age. We can say a few more things within regards about him. How when he grew up, he really learned under the auspices of Chacham Azariah, his father, who was also a politician, I believe, not just a great rabbi inside the neighborhood. And I think his brother would also have an important role before he passed away. Before his brother passed away. This was in the earlier days. And how he was working in the school system over there, he was well connected with various different governors, people in prominent positions, all over different vicinities. How he made Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael was absolutely amazing. He became the rabbi of the Beit Hanan Moshav, Bukhari neighborhood he was working in, and would establish the Tefaert Yerushalayim synagogue and Magen Avraham Yeshiva, which is a phenomenal achievement. And and I would recommend everyone to look into his book. Let's explore a few of the highlights from his book now that we are all on. A few teachings, I think, from the Sefer Yazrieli, I think page 86. Melamed Yaakov Lomet Shagoyim Korim Yaakovi Letalmid Chacham. Another teaching. We're using notes from the Hayomi website over here from page 87 this time. Melamed Shezochim Zebezeh Tzadikim Rasha Talmid Chacham Im Am Haaretz. It's another teaching from this great Torah colossal work, which I would recommend everyone to look into. Just another teaching. Melamed Ba'avo Sinat Chinam Shbenenu Nishmru Sham Agluyot Shel Shachmenu. Yes, this is a teaching, I think, from page Rish Chav Tet, if I'm not mistaken, 229 from the book. So many, many different teachings. He was a great rabbi of his time, and recommend everyone to learn more about him and more about his books. Now, friends, we're a community here. We are learning about great rabbis of yesteryear here, especially from the Ottoman countries, from the various different important places, North African places, Spanish countries of yesteryear. Now, if you descend from any of the great Chachamim we are speaking about, please send me an email. I would love to hear more information about the great rabbis. Now, if you feel anyone is interested in watching any of these videos, please share these videos also to other people and let other people benefit from it. Also, it will be absolutely amazing and appreciated. And we're nearing a staggering 7,000 subscribers, which is a phenomenal achievement over here. And we couldn't do it for you. So please, everyone, join the community. And we don't just record videos on the great rabbis of yesteryear. We also have an interesting Jewish personality every single day to share with some amazing wisdom for Am Yisrael. We do a lot. We do tours all over the country. We like to tour around different places. We feel it's very important to explore and love Eretz Yisrael. And we also Daf Yomi, daily tidbits, where we will speak about the daily page of the Talmud every single day, which is a phenomenal success also, which I recommend everyone to look at. And help the community grow any ideas, any feedback. I always appreciate, friends. And I think on that note, wishing you well. Thank you for watching and take care. Thanks.